Every morning, 7-year-old Aisha walked through the rusted school gate with a kind of quiet grace that didn't belong to a child her age. Her small shoes tapped softly against the pavement, her hair neatly brushed, and her face adorned with perfectly applied makeup, rosy blush, shimmering eyeshadow, and a bold shade of lipstick that always matched the ribbon in her hair. The other children stared, nudged each other, and giggled. Some thought it was funny. Some thought it was strange. But all of them noticed. What made it even more unusual was that the makeup was never messy, never smudged, never uneven. It wasn't the playful scribble of a child discovering colors, it was careful, practiced, and controlled. As if someone older, someone skilled, someone determined had put it there. The teachers tried to ignore it at first. Kids expressed themselves in different ways, they told each other. Maybe she likes pretending to be a princess. Maybe she has a creative streak. But as days turned into weeks, curiosity grew into concern. Miss Zara, her homeroom teacher, watched Aisha more closely. The little girl spoke softly, rarely raised her hand, and always flinched when someone moved too quickly near her. But whenever someone commented on the makeup, she would smile politely and repeat the same rehearsed line. "Mama likes it." The words never changed. The tone never changed. It was as if they'd been memorized. Yet everyone in the school knew something else. Aisha's mother had not been seen in months. Still, life went on. Children focused on playground games, spelling tests, and lunchbox trades. Only in subtle glances did the adults share their doubts. But doubts, when unanswered, eventually settle like dust, quiet, ignored, and forgotten. Then came the morning that would sweep all the dust away. The sky was already heavy with gray clouds when students began arriving. The wind carried the scent of wet soil, and thunder grumbled somewhere in the distance. Aisha arrived as she always did, her makeup flawlessly done, her eyes lowered, her backpack neatly pressed against her spine. But today she seemed even more tense, her shoulders tight, her steps hesitant. The first raindrop fell just as the bell rang. Then another. Then dozens. Children squealed and ran for the awning, their laughter echoing across the courtyard. Some stretched out their hands to feel the drops. Some jumped into puddles forming near the walkway. Teachers waved urgently, calling them inside. But Aisha did not move. She stood frozen in the rain as though rooted to the ground. Her eyes widened, and her breath quickened. She lifted trembling hands and tried to shield her face, but the rain fell faster, soaking through her hair and clothing. The pink blush began to dissolve. The glittery eyeshadow streamed downward. The lipstick smeared, and then it happened. The makeup melted away completely, revealing what had been hidden beneath. Gasps rippled through the children nearest to her. One girl screamed. A boy dropped his umbrella. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Even the rain seemed quieter for a moment. Where there had been rosy cheeks, there were dark purplish shadows. Where the glitter had sparkled, faint yellow marks bloomed along her jawline. Near her lip was a fresh cut, still red, still tender. The makeup hadn't been playfulness. It had been camouflage. Miss Zara rushed forward, her heart pounding. She knelt and gently cupped Aisha's face, wiping away the last streaks of foundation. Aisha trembled like a leaf caught in a storm. "My sweetheart," Miss Zara whispered, "what happened to you?" Aisha shook her head violently, her wet braids swinging. "Please," she choked out, her voice barely audible, "please don't tell Papa." Those words, small, terrified, and soaked in rain, hit the adults harder than any thunderclap. Miss Zara wrapped her arms around her, holding her close, shielding her not just from the rain but from something far darker. The other teachers gathered, whispering urgently. The principal was called. Children were ushered away, some crying, some confused, some shaken. Aisha was taken inside, wrapped in a warm towel, handed a mug of cocoa she didn't drink. The school nurse examined her gently. Every movement made Aisha flinch. Every touch made her tense. Every question made her withdraw. Her eyes darted to the door again and again, as though expecting someone to storm through and drag her away. Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing the courtyard clean, but inside, fear settled heavily in the air. The adults exchanged looks, fearful, angry, heartbroken. How had they missed it? The clues had been there all along, painted right in front of them, yet none of them had looked closely enough. They remembered the way Aisha always wore long sleeves, even in warm weather. How she never laughed loudly, never played rough, never joined group activities. How she walked carefully, as though trying not to disturb something already fragile inside her. Miss Zara felt tears burn in her eyes. She had noticed, she had wondered, but she had not acted. Guilt wrapped around her like cold vines. Aisha sat silently, staring at her small hands, raindrops still clinging to her lashes. The makeup had washed away, but the fear remained, raw and exposed. The school counselor arrived, speaking in calm tones. The principal contacted Child Protection Services. Protocol began to unfold, but while forms and procedures moved forward, Aisha simply sat there, small, fragile, and waiting for something she could not name. The rain eventually slowed, leaving the world outside damp and quiet. But inside the school, nothing felt calm. Something irreversible had happened. A secret had been forced into the light, and now that it was visible, no one could turn away. Parents picking up their children heard fragments of the story. Rumors spread, whispers coiled down hallways. Some reacted with outrage, some with sorrow, some with denial, but everyone felt it, the unsettling awareness that danger could hide behind ribbons and glitter, behind polite smiles and small footsteps, behind a tiny face coated in pink. Miss Zara stayed by Aisha's side, holding her hand, offering warmth without pressure, protection without force. The little girl leaned against her, exhausted, emotionally, physically, invisibly. And though no one said it aloud, everyone understood. This was only the beginning. Aisha sat curled up in the infirmary chair, wrapped in a soft fleece blanket, but no amount of warmth could loosen the chill inside her. Miss Zara stayed close, speaking softly, offering tissues, offering silence, whatever the moment required. The school counselor, Mrs. Rahman, joined them with gentle footsteps and a voice that seemed to float like feathers. "It's safe here," she said, kneeling so her eyes were level with Aisha's. "No one is angry with you. No one will hurt you." But Aisha didn't answer. Her gaze stayed fixed on the door, as though the mere idea of it opening could shatter her. Minutes passed, then more. Slowly, like ice thawing in the first breath of spring, Aisha began to speak, not in full sentences, not in clear descriptions, but in fragments. Pieces, shadows of memories. Mama used to braid her hair. Mama used to sing while she packed her lunch. Mama used to smile, until she didn't. Then Mama disappeared. No one told Aisha where she went. Only Papa knew, and Papa didn't like questions. The bruises started after Mama left. At first, they were small, easy to hide beneath sleeves. Then harder, then, impossible. Papa became a storm that never stopped rumbling. Some days it was shouting. Some days it was silence, the kind that felt sharper than yelling. And some days, it was worse. Papa told her never to cry, never to complain, never to let anyone see. But one morning, when he saw her reflection in the mirror, something changed. He rummaged through Mama's old drawer, pulled out powders and brushes and creams. He sat her down, lifted her chin, and painted her face with shaking hands. Not lovingly, not playfully, but urgently, like a man hiding a crack in a wall before it collapsed. "You will wear this," he said, "every day. If anyone asks, tell them you like makeup. Tell them Mama used to do it. Do you understand?" Aisha nodded, because fear teaches obedience faster than love teaches trust. Now, in the quiet of the infirmary, her voice trembled like a candle flame. "If Papa finds out I told, he'll be angry. Very angry." Mrs. Rahman placed a reassuring hand on hers. "Your father won't be coming here today. You're protected, and you don't have to go home with him." The words hung in the air. Protected. Did that mean safe? Aisha didn't know what safety felt like. By afternoon, officials arrived, voices firm but eyes soft. They spoke with the principal behind closed doors. They documented injuries. They made phone calls. They asked questions no child should ever need to answer. Aisha stayed near Miss Zara, her small hand gripping the teacher's like an anchor. For the first time, she didn't have to whisper. She didn't have to hide. She didn't have to pretend that glitter and blush were her choice. Still, her heart raced whenever the hallway creaked, whenever footsteps approached, whenever shadows shifted against the window. But each time, Miss Zara squeezed her hand, grounding her back into the room. When the bell rang at the end of the school day, children filtered past the infirmary doors, their whispers brushing through the air. "Did you see? It was bruises. She was crying. My mom said it's dangerous." But others looked stricken, worried, hearts bruised in their own quiet way. One boy placed a drawing outside the door, a picture of a smiling girl beneath a sunny sky. Another child left a small plastic bracelet, beads spelling friend. The world was beginning to see her differently, not as the strange girl in makeup, but as someone who needed gentleness. That evening, Aisha didn't go home. A social worker spoke kindly to her, explaining everything step by step. She would be staying with a family member, a safe one. Someone who cared, someone who had been trying to reach her for months. Her aunt arrived, tearful, breathless, arms open. She hugged Aisha tightly, but gently, as though she understood exactly how delicate she was. "My sweet girl," her aunt whispered, stroking her hair. "You're coming with me now. You don't have to be afraid anymore." Aisha leaned into her, unsure, but hopeful. Hope felt strange, but good. Days passed. The world didn't transform all at once, but little pieces shifted. Her aunt brushed her hair in the mornings and packed lunch with heart-shaped sandwiches. She spoke softly, listened fully, and never raised her hand or her voice. At school, the children didn't giggle anymore. They smiled instead, tentative, kind, unsure of the right words but trying anyway. The teachers watched over her with quiet vigilance. The counselor met with her often, helping her untangle the knots fear had tied inside her. And one morning, Aisha walked through the school gate with her bare face. No glitter, no lipstick, no camouflage. Her cheeks were soft and natural, her lips pale, her eyes clear, but her steps still cautious. Some children stared, but not with mockery. With relief, with welcome. At recess, a girl approached her, the same one who used to whisper and giggle. She held out something small in her hand. A tiny lip gloss, pink, sparkly. "You don't have to wear it," she said shyly. "Only if you want to. I just thought, maybe now it could be fun instead of scary." Aisha looked at the gloss. For a moment, her breath caught. Then she smiled, a real smile, fragile but blooming. "Maybe, someday," she said. The girl nodded and sat beside her. They didn't speak, but they didn't need to. Sharing silence can be its own kind of healing. Weeks later, rain returned, soft at first, then steady, tapping against the windows like gentle fingers. The students crowded the playground, laughing and spinning in the drizzle. And slowly, cautiously, Aisha stepped outside too. Her aunt held an umbrella nearby, just in case. Miss Zara watched from the doorway, hands pressed against her heart. The other children glanced her way, smiling encouragement. Aisha lifted her face to the sky. A single drop landed on her cheek. She didn't flinch. Another fell, then another. Soon her hair was damp, her eyelashes wet, her cheeks glistening, not with makeup, but with rain. She closed her eyes and let the water wash over her, cleansing not her skin, but her memories. This time, no one panicked. This time, she wasn't hiding anything. This time, she wasn't afraid of what the rain might reveal. Because now, there was nothing to conceal, and everything to grow into. A new beginning, carried softly on the rhythm of falling rain.